Good evening. I'd like to call to order the September 24th, 2019 Seminole County School Board meeting to order. At this point in time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Robin Dillinger, who is going to introduce our invokers for this evening. School board members, we have a treat with two students.
Thank you, Dr. Calderon. I'd like to ask Ms. Nicholas, the principal of Lair Elementary School, to come up and introduce her student.
It is my privilege to introduce Zachariah Cartledge, who is our current Disney Dreamer and Doer. He was also featured this month in Scholastic News. He had the centerfold for his project of Running for Heroes.
Good evening, everybody. It's my first time here, and it's an honor to be here tonight. I love living in Seminole County, and I think it's an amazing county to live in. But my name is Zachariah Cartledge. I'm 10 years old from Lair Elementary, and I run for fallen officers that have passed away in the line of duty. And my mission started about 2 years ago when I ran a race called the Tunnel to Towers 5K in Orlando. And during the run, there was all these first responders, including officers and firefighters, that were dressed in their full gear running with me. And that inspired me to run last year in honor of a 9/11 officer. And then when I heard how much officers passed away last year in 2018, I decided to honor them this year. But I also run for the 2019 officers, carrying the blue line flag, and that's the main mission I do now, is to run for the 2019 officers. I've raised over $50,000 for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, and it's an honor to be here tonight. And I love living in Seminole County.
Good evening, Dr. Griffin, Dr. Calderon, board members. It's my pleasure to be here tonight to introduce our student invoker from Childs Middle School, Miss Amberly Pirata. If you were looking to define what a well-rounded student is, you would start with Amberly. She participates in the band playing the clarinet, our theater program, and is taking piano next semester. Also plays volleyball in both club and the school teams, and helps other students through our pit crew program. She does all this while taking all advanced level courses in both 6th and 7th grade and maintaining a 3.5 GPA. Once again, it's my privilege to introduce Amberly Pirata.
Hi, I'm Amberly Pirata, and today I'm going to be talking about what it is to be a good citizen. And citizenship is an important part of school and our community. To me, citizenship starts with being a good person. Each day I try my best to wake up and put myself in other people's shoes. By doing this, it allows me to have a better understanding of my peers, friends, and adults in my life. Having empathy for others around you is a big part of being a good citizen. It allows you to make decisions for the greater good of you and the people around you. At my school, I am blessed with the opportunity to be a part of the Pit Crew program. Each day, I get to work with a boy with special needs that has taught me way more than I could ever imagine. He has taught me how to be patient with others, and that we are all special and important in our own ways. As I'm growing older, I am figuring out that with hard work, dedication, and a kind heart, I could be a successful contributing student at my school and in our community. So if you approach every day prepared to treat others the way you want to be treated and ready to work hard for what you want, you're going to be on the path to be a good citizen. Thank you.
We would both like to lead all of you in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so very much. And what two shining star examples of citizenship we have within our students this evening. Thank you both for being here. Any other comments, board members? Okay.
I'd just like to say I appreciate both of you and everything you do. And Zachariah, we have enjoyed watching and going with you and running. Actually, I think about a week ago, I actually had a chance to run with you, so that was nice.
Great. Let the record reflect that all 5 school board members are in attendance, and 2 individuals would like to be recognized this evening. Mr. Dan Smith, President of Seminole Education Association, thank you for being here, and Melissa Pugh, Seminole County Council PTA President. Thank you for being here this evening as well. Dr. Griffin, do you have any agenda modifications?
I have just one, Madam Chair. The addendum for good cause is marked on our electronic agenda by a green flag named addendum item.
Thank you. And school board members, any items for clarifying questions or pulled for separate consideration? Okay, seeing none, do I have an approval of the agenda outline?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. We have some presentations and recognitions this evening, so let's go down front.
Good evening. We are proud to recognize Mr. Edward Vicente for his service. Mr. Vicente is a decorated veteran who dedicated 21 years of his life to the United States Army. Mr. Vicente held various positions while enlisted to include infantryman, paratrooper, and drill instructor. Mr. Vicente completed 3 combat tours in Vietnam, Grenada, and the Republic of Panama. He was also stationed in Fort Jackson, Fort Dixon, as well as Germany and South Korea. During his Army career, Mr. Vicente received many medals to include 2 Bronze Stars with Valor, 2 Purple Hearts, the Meritorious Service Medal, and many other outstanding awards. Mr. Vicente retired from the Army as a Master Sergeant. Mr. Vicente has been a Seminole County bus driver for 9 years and is known for his outgoing, positive attitude. If you ask him why he chose to drive a school bus, he will tell you that he enjoys the job because it is a new adventure every day and the children keep me young. He always has a quick story to tell and has a great outlook on life in general. Mr. Vicente was born in New York City and graduated from DeWitt Clinton High School in the Bronx. He has been married for 37 years to his wife, Sonia, and they have 2 beautiful daughters and 5 grandchildren. He loves life, enjoys going to the beach as well as going on vacations, don't we all, and has a passion for swimming. We are honored to have Mr. Vicente on our team and appreciate his dedication to the parents and students of Seminole County Public Schools. Mr. Vicente, we thank you for your service both to your country and to Seminole County Public Schools Transportation Services.
Good evening, Dr. Griffin, Dr. Calderon, and school board members. It's my pleasure to introduce the newest administrator to the Department of Alternative Programs, Assistant Principal Siobhan Pitters. Siobhan holds 2 master's degrees in educational leadership and higher education administration from Barry University. Her experiences through being a dean and a SAM have opened her eyes to a world of possibilities for the advancement and appreciation of alternative education, and she looks forward to continuing to make an impact on Seminole County's students. With her in attendance today are her parents, Betty Ann and Rory Nolan, and her husband, Mark Pitters, who's also an administrator here in our school district, and who could not be with her this evening but is here in spirit is her son, Stephen Pitters. He's a student at the University of Miami.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Lenore Larson, and I am the very proud principal at Idlewild Elementary. and today I'm here to share a story of true heroism. I received this email from one of our parents last Wednesday. This past Saturday was the scariest day of my life. This is a lengthy email, but I must share with you of how Tina DeBose, one of your employees, is truly one of a kind. She helped save my 11-month baby girl Faith from choking to death. I was on State Road 46 at a red light. "Mommy, Faith is choking," are the words I heard from my 7-year-old Landon, who was in the back seat. I looked in the mirror, and sure enough, Faith was not breathing. I rushed out of my car, unbuckled her, and quickly administered the Heimlich maneuver. Whatever she was choking on did not come up. Frantically, I screamed for help, for anyone to come help me, anyone at all. Many people stopped, but there was only one woman who rushed over. By impulse, I handed Faith to this complete stranger. I didn't know what to do, as she also performed the Heimlich on her. After moments that felt like an eternity, Faith began to cough. I searched earnestly for her water cup. She drank and ended up swallowing what it was in her mouth. I immediately took Faith back and embraced her with everything in me. I wept in this woman's arms. After 5 minutes and some long, deep breaths, we got back in the car and took her to urgent care. They said they weren't able to help me. We got back in the car and started driving to the ER. Faith, still coughing frequently, started to fall asleep. This alarmed me so much because Faith isn't one just to fall asleep, especially with the uproar that had just taken place moments before. I was slapping her face trying to keep her awake. I felt like her airway was being compromised and she was getting ready to leave us. I'm trying to drive. Landon was crying. I was crying. I'm keeping my finger on her neck, making sure that she has a pulse, and people are driving as if they had nowhere to be. It was so frustrating. Finally, we rushed into the ER, and the nurses all gathered to help Faith. They assured me her oxygen level was perfect, as well as her vitals. Fast forward to Carline this past Tuesday at Idlewild. I had to get out of my car and go to the front office to grab a car sign, because we would never let her take anyone without a car sign. When I was walking to the office, I see the woman that was sent to help us right there in front of me wearing her school ID badge. The woman who stopped and helped and embraced me like I was her daughter works at the school that my son now attends, Idlewild Elementary. She instantly recognized me. We must have hugged 10 times and told our story to at least 5 other teachers in passing. What was ironic about seeing her today was the fact that she told me that she shouldn't have even been at that red light in the first place. She was traveling with her mom. They got lost, but was destined to be at that red light at the exact time I cried for help. The Lord uses us for his doing. We may not know what in the world he's doing or why, but it's not our job to understand. It's our job to respond, to take action, and to trust. I think to myself, how would I ever be able to live without one of my children? I can just imagine the state I'd be in. No purpose, no joy, no love, no nothing. But then I think about how God and how powerful and mighty he is. He works in mysterious ways. How that even in the most worrisome days, he has a plan. I thank him for not calling Faith home to him. I thank him 1,000,000 times every day. I personally would like to thank Dr. Griffin for sending out this initiative to watch the Heimlich video. We never know what we're going to encounter on any day in the school day, let alone on a weekend day. So at this time, I would like to introduce Tina DeBose, who is here with her mom and dad, as well as Faith and her family.
And now it's time for Focused on Student Achievement. Good evening.
Am I on? Oh, we hope this presentation doesn't keep you in tears. So,
Are you going to do the... I hope not either.
I'm willing to make that commitment now. It will not.
He's the comedy part of this team. Okay, so I'll just begin. If you go to the very beginning, you'll see that the first slide shares our elementary FSA ELA Achievement 5-year history. And recall that ELA Achievement refers to the percent of third, fourth, and fifth grade students scoring at level 3 or higher on the FSA ELA. And you'll note that here over the period of 5 years, we've increased by 5 percentage points in ELA Achievement. This table shows you learning gains and learning gains for our lowest quartile students on the FSA ELA. And you will notice that over 4 years, learning gains for all students has improved by 8 percentage points, and for lower quartile students by 8 percentage points. And I would just like to point out that this measure really only applies to about a third of the students in the school, because learning gains reflects only the learning gains made by 4th and 5th grade students, and then any retained 3rd grade students. And here we see learning gains for ELL students, and a little bit down the road you'll have a more in-depth look at ELLs, but for the purposes of tonight, you can see that over 4 years, our ELL students have improved by 10 percentage points in learning gains. And again, it's only our 4th and 5th graders and retained 3rd grade students. And then lastly, students with disabilities, over 4 years, a gain of 11 percentage points, which is a considerable improvement in that amount of time.
So, in just a moment, Dr. Pisani is going to share with you some of the resources that we have in our instructional frameworks for student success. And just a couple of facts about all of these. All of these frameworks are created by our Seminole County teachers for our Seminole County teachers, and we revise those on a regular basis. So at any time you can look in there and you will see revision dates as recently as today. We know that all of this growth and continuous improvement is only going to happen if we continually improve all of our processes, including our professional development, our instructional plans, and our support for our teachers. And so Dr. Pisani and her team are responsible for putting together that work. So she's going to share with you just a little bit of an example of a primary and a 4th grade framework so that you can see what the teachers have to access.
Okay, thank you. So as Sean said, everything that I'll show you this evening is available within the framework. When you go in there, if you click on the elementary button, that'll take you to the resources that I'm about to share with you. And we did a little research in preparation for tonight and found that for last school year, on an average, we had around 720,000 monthly views of the pages within. So teachers are accessing, and as they are looking at things, we know that we have to refine and add more to help them as we learn more about our students. It's on a delay. It's a delay. Okay, so I'm going to share with you, and this is found within the framework, what the example of the ELA block would look like, and I'll take you through and show you some of the resources for a primary grade level and then an intermediate. So the ELA block begins with about 10-15 minutes on foundational skills. It could be language, grammar type things, or phonics, depending upon the grade level of the student. Then for the next block of time, about 25 to 40 minutes, it's the more traditional whole group lesson that usually focuses on informational, literary, or writing standards. And then that greater chunk of time, we we encourage students or teachers to use that to plan to have small group instruction. And this is really the part of the block where teachers have that opportunity to accelerate the learning of their students. And there's a little chart there at the bottom to indicate, when a teacher might meet with different groups of students. Those students here in group 1 meet with a teacher every day, needing some extra support, whereas the students potentially in group 4 might be above grade level, have some days to work independently, but also need that time with the teacher to continue and support their learning. So something new for our primary grade levels this year, we've added this button. It's PA, PH, and PD sequence. The PA is for phonemic awareness, PH is phonics, and the PD is for professional development. And so when teachers click on that for grades K1 or 2, they have access to a series of monthly calendars. And I want to draw your attention to that third column that says phonics and Pinel phonics spelling and word study lessons, because this is something that's new for our teachers this year. And it concentrates on those foundational skills. And here we've listed for the month of September what the priority lessons would be for first grade. The lessons have been picked based upon where a typical first grade student would be at this point of the year, and they're considered to be part of core instruction. So they're meant to be whole group lessons lasting about 10 or 15 minutes. There are 2 lessons per week with the intention that as teachers introduce these things, they also give students times to apply them with text and give that time for that to develop before going on to another lesson. So these concepts should be seen throughout the English language arts block. The second column there is the PD part. We have our teachers, as they are using this new resource, we're asking that in their PLCs that they use the foundational skills to support reading for understanding in grades K through 3. And these are research-based materials that were put together by the Regional Educational Library at FSU. So they have a research base, and they provide our coaches, because we're asking our coaches to go through with them, videos, questions, and the research to help them better understand what it is that they're doing with their phonics and Pinel lessons. So they align with one another. Whatever they're doing in that phonics and Pinel, they'll do a module that corresponds with that for that month. And then that first column over there on the left is their traditional framework lesson for the month. So with, this is just to reiterate the fact that the phonics lessons this year are whole group based, 10, 15 minutes. It's very explicit instruction at first to help the students understand their new concept. Then the teachers will do an application and then to assess formatively how they're doing and then continue that out throughout the block. And this slide shows you the traditional sequence of framework lessons. And we're going to highlight one today that has to do with a first grade informational text lesson. And to show that within the lessons that are provided, there are resources such as this PowerPoint that teachers can use. And here they're talking about some informational text and how to use captions to learn more. And they allow for conversation even amongst the students as they're supposed to ask their partners, how to answer detailed questions. In addition to that, teachers have resources such as our science leveled readers that while the concept on all three of these books is the same, the text is at a different level to allow the teachers to differentiate the students where they are as they're working on their text. Just a picture of small group instruction. And when the teacher's at her teacher table doing those guided reading lessons, it's yet another opportunity to pull in the phonics concept of the week that they've worked on. iReady also allows for that differentiation based upon where the students are. And also we like to see students working in small groups on their standards too. Now I'll briefly go through and talk about some of the fourth grade resources that are available. So at the beginning of each of the grade levels for each quarter, there's a button in the lesson sequence that teachers can go to for their foundational plans. And that's organized by week, and then they also have by standard. And there's resources for both the instruction and the practice by the students. So as an example here, it's from fourth grade, Over on the left, you have a PowerPoint on using precise language, and then on the right-hand side, there are some task cards that then students could use to practice doing just that. For traditional framework lessons, it's a similar pattern. Here, there's an example from Because of Winn-Dixie, where the students would be looking at still frames from the movie and comparing that to the text that they would be reading to compare and contrast and look for that precise language that they were just previously learning about. And then within the framework, there is a lot of opportunity for differentiation. And as we get into the intermediate grade levels, it's important that teachers are still reading in small groups, but we see an increasing amount of writing instruction in those small groups too. So this is highlighting the varied resources that would be available. There at the bottom of that picture, it would be for somebody that's just working on how to paraphrase, whereas if you're a little bit farther along in your writing process, there's different leveled text that you can use to work with students. And then, like I said, that process would repeat in small group instruction and so on, in meeting students where they are. So thank you for allowing us to share these resources and your support.
Thank you.
Board members, any questions or comments?
First of all, thank you so much for everything you all do day in and day out, and the support that our TOAs give to our teachers and any faculty members as well. We really, truly appreciate it. I'm real impressed with how many sites that they are visiting, so that's real impressive to see that. With the independent reading, I have one question with that. I know that I saw, it looks like one of the science kits, they were doing some independent reading with that. And I was just curious to see if they're still utilizing or just kind of weaning away from the Reading Street novels and just using it as a, supplemental book for them.
So Reading Street is part of what many of our lessons are based upon. So there is some choice that's involved in that regard. So we do like to have hands-on text if that's
Right.
what you're referring to throughout.
So basically, they're still using the textbook, but the lessons that came with the textbook have been rewritten to align to the way that we
Right, because I know the alignment's a little different now
correct.
with the framework,
Right.
so that's why I was.
We do have that anthology of texts, which is essentially what the book is, but it's not necessarily that we're going to say, okay, and now this week everyone should be on an
Perfect.
excerpt from Because of
And the
Winn-Dixie.
last question with the phonics skills, which I'm so happy that we're doing all that, and I know you provided kits for the teachers and they're sharing them, but they're able to rotate and there's like numerous lessons so they can share while one's doing one, it's multiple lessons on the same skill that they can utilize at the same time. Am I understanding that correctly?
So there are, because you don't have to do one lesson per day, there is greater flexibility in how they share those. And then within the kit, there's a book that has the lesson itself, and then there's also a file folder that has the copy of the lesson. So, if I was to share it, I could use the book and my partner could use file folders.
Fabulous.
To allow for that flexibility.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you for all you do in supporting our teachers. We do have two people who would like to share some public comment. Ms. Almond, if you could share with our group what our policy is on that.
Ma'am. The public input segment of the meeting is provided for the purpose of permitting persons to present specific matters to the board for its consideration and action or referral to the superintendent and his staff. The public input segment of the meeting is not open to presentations of campaign issues by political candidates, matters involving student disciplinary actions, pending employee disciplinary matters, or pending litigation. Each individual member of the public is limited to 3 minutes, and a designated group representative may have up to 6 minutes. Welcome. Please introduce yourself for the record when you come to the lectern.
Thank you, Mrs. Almond. And first, I'd like to call Mr. David Marini to the podium, and on deck, Ms. Debbie Smith.
No, it's not. It hasn't been. Good evening, Superintendent, Chairwoman, members of the board, legal counsel, clerk. I was surprised on September 11th of this year that nothing was done countywide to recognize the tragedy that happened 18 years ago on that day. I'm even more surprised because of all places, Publix, starting at 8:46 a.m., held a 15-minute period of remembrance. I think it is important that we never forget the lives lost on that day. 2,977 men and women died in that attack, 412 of whom were first responders who rushed in with complete disregard to their own lives. Their selfless actions, which cost them their own lives, ended up saving thousands of others. So I am asking that the board please, for all years forward, dedicate a moment of remembrance at 10:28 a.m., the time that the North Tower fell, for all those lives lost. Thank you, and never forget.
Thank you, David.
May I make a
We'll never
comment?
forget. Yes, Ms. Almond.
David, there were many events going on throughout the county that many of us attended. They may not necessarily be held at a school, but we were over at the Criminal Justice Center and planted thousands of flags and spent the morning honoring.
And then Miss Debbie Smith.
First, before I get started, I just wanted to thank you for the curriculum presentation. I really appreciated the exposure to the community about the strategies that are used in the classroom. So thank you for that. I found that valuable. Okay, why I'm up here. My name is Debbie Smith. I have lived in Seminole County since 1989. Good evening. At the January 2019 school board meeting, I provided public comment requesting the board make a joint written public statement indicating that the board does not support the position of the Guardian program, which would arm classroom teachers. The board made a determination at a work session over the summer that a full board resolution was not needed for our county. Upon learning about their decision not to make a joint resolution, I followed up with an email to each board member asking if they supported arming classroom teachers. Thank you to the 4 board members who did reply to me. They responded by email or phone and indicated that they do not support arming teachers, so thank you for that. However, 1 board member did not respond. I can only conclude that the board member who did not respond does support arming teachers and is probably the reason a joint resolution has not been made by the full board. That is my personal opinion only. It is my understanding that 11 of 67 counties have elected to implement the Guardian program. The state has not released which counties are participating. With the lack of transparency from the state, it amplifies the community's need to know where the board stands through a joint resolution. I'm here today again to ask and request that the school board members make a joint resolution that they will not implement the portion of the program that allows arming teachers, because you never know what will happen tomorrow and what will come up again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your input.
Here you go.
Seeing no other public comment, we'll move on to our consent agenda. I'm sorry. Okay, we'll wait just one moment. You can bring it up here and fill it out when you're done with your comment. That would be fine. No worries. And you can fill that out after your comments. Sir, in the interest of time, if you'd like to make your public comment, and then you can fill out the form afterwards.
We'll leave it here with you, right here.
So for the record, if you could identify yourself, please, and then
My
we'll
name is
go
Drew Bay, and I'm a parent of a student at Teague Middle School. Before I start, I'd like to thank whoever it was that supported our teachers' Second Amendment rights. Definitely agree with the Guardian program, think it's a good thing. Thank you for whoever supported that. The reason I'm here is because Teague Middle School in particular is issuing detentions to students for forgetting their ID badges. And I think this is not just unfair to the students, but also to parents of bus riders who could be inconvenienced by it, especially if they're working and have to lose hours or make alternate transportation arrangements. The kids aren't hurting anybody. They're not damaging school property. They're not doing anything that's disruptive in class. And I've been searching for about a week for any research on the impact of school ID badges on safety, and I've found none. And I managed to get a hold of a school safety expert. In fact, I emailed some of the school board members. It's Dr. David Pirata, author of this book on school safety. I'd be glad to provide more information from him. He's been speaking about this. He's been a consultant for schools for years on it. And this morning when we talked, he said that he was not aware of any research on the impact of school ID badges either way. And I'm not opposed to them. I think that they provide convenience. But if it can't be demonstrated that they're absolutely necessary for or have a proven impact on safety, I don't think it's something that should be pushed, much less punished. Instead, I would propose that students who are non-habitual violators of the policy just receive a note that would require parent signature so that the parents are aware of it, but also that this be looked into further. Also, the school should be aware that Teague in particular, I was notified by a parent that their child told them there are students who have found misplaced IDs and have sold them to other students or are just wearing them. And apparently this has been going on for a bit. So if students are walking around wearing just any old ID and not being caught doing this, the system isn't really doing a whole lot for safety. Also, just as an experiment, found that with a cell phone, a laptop, and a color printer, you could very easily take any ID and duplicate it in about 10 minutes with very simple photo editing techniques. So if they're going to use IDs,
Thank you.
they need to step that up a little bit.
We appreciate your comments. Madam Clerk, did you have any other? Madam Clerk, did you have any other? Oh, another, okay. Okay, good evening. If you could identify yourself for the record, and then we'll
Yes,
start your time.
my name is Tanya Varga Bigozinski, and I'm a resident of Seminole County, Florida. I'm also, I have a son who attends public school here in Seminole County, and I'm a member of Moms Demand Action. I'm also a member of the PTA, so I'm very involved in Seminole County and with the school system. I'm also the Be Smart lead for Moms Demand Action here in Seminole County. Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America has developed the SMART framework to help parents and adults prevent child gun deaths and injuries. There is a need for getting the Be Smart message to the parents via tabling, presentations, and a link to our website. We hope you will allow us an opportunity to spread our Be Smart message. Be Smart, apologize. Very quickly, I apologize. The S in the Be Smart model is to secure all guns in your home and vehicles. M is to model behavior around guns. A is to ask the presence of unsecured guns in others' homes. R is to recognize the risk of teen suicide. And T is to tell your peers to be smart. I have done several presentations through the PTA at, it happened to be at Lake Brantley High School. And it's a very simple message. That's the message that we give. Parents ask us questions, and that's the information that we provide. We also have a detailed presentation. However, that would be something that I would want to get your authorization before presenting either to local schools, the PTA, et cetera. The message is basically for education and to keep together so we can keep our kids safe. So I hope you will consider allowing us through Moms Demand Action and Be Smart to present our message for reducing gun violence. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I have some flyers for you all.
Oh, that would be great. The clerk will disperse
Thank
them
you.
to all of us. I appreciate it. Any other public comment, Madam Clerk? Okay. Moving on to consent agenda. Dr. Griffin, do you have a recommendation?
My recommendation is that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
So moved.
There's a motion.
Second.
Is there a second? Second. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. And Dr. Griffin, moving on to new business.
I have 2 items for your consideration. My first recommendation is that the School Board of Seminole County approve the 2020 legislative priorities.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? I just have a comment. As much as we had a very good detailed outline of our 2 top priorities for the legislative agenda this year, one for the appropriations asked to expand our construction trades, and then our second to use nationally normed test instead of the FSA test, I do feel that it was very long in nature, and I think perhaps if we shortened our descriptions, it would be able to be utilized by all of our chambers of commerce when they go out to Tallahassee for their legislative agendas. And I know we've had a joint work session with our county commissioners, and we brought it up at our mayors and managers as well. And I think it's very powerful if we could have the entire county all supporting what our initiative is. And with them not being full-time educators, I think just a shorter description would be something more readable, whether it be on our website or for other people in the community to share with our representatives in Tallahassee, if that would be okay with all of you to ask staff to give us 2 forms of our resolution.
Dr. Cody.
resolutions. Right. So that would be my only input, and Dr. Griffin, if you and your team feel it's appropriate.
I
would
agree.
too.
Perfect.
Okay,
sounds
so there's a
wonderful. Thank
motion
you.
and a second. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, my second recommendation is that the School Board of Seminole County approve Resolution 2019-06 to reimburse itself from the proceeds of a certificate of participation planned to be issued October 2019 for expenses for projects included in the certificate of participation incurred within 60 days to the date of this resolution and to be incurred subsequent to the date of this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to the superintendent's report, I'd like to make some comments under A, which is our 2019 superintendent's evaluation. For those of you who don't know, one of the responsibilities of the school board is to hire and evaluate our superintendent on an annual basis. And we like to share annually with the public what our input on the evaluation of Dr. Griffin was. So in accordance with the terms of Dr. Griffin's contract as superintendent, he is evaluated each year, and it must be completed by October 1st. The superintendent is evaluated on 5 standards, and each standard includes 5 to 7 professional practices. So under Standard 1, which is vision and culture, Dr. Griffin received an average rating of 4 out of 4, unanimously. Standard 2, business operations, Dr. Griffin received an average rating of 4 out of 4, unanimously. Standard 3, Board Governance and Policy, Dr. Griffin received an average rating of 4 out of 4. Standard 4, Communication and Community Relations, Dr. Griffin earned an average rating of 4 out of 4. And Standard 5, Ethical Leadership, Dr. Griffin received an average rating of 4 out of 4. I think the 5 of us have made it abundantly clear how much we respect, honor, and are thrilled to have you serve this community as our superintendent. And I think the community has to understand how lucky and fortunate we are to have such a leader with a passion and compassion for every child to succeed, no matter what the zip code or what your background. And please know that these 5 board members support you going forward with your vision and your leadership and your ethical leadership. And your community relations is barred none. There's not an organization in town that hasn't been honored to have you speak and share with them, and the compliments keep rolling in, whether it be phone calls or emails. And I'd turn it over to my fellow board members if there's anything specific you'd like to add to that.
Covered it.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Griffin, for your service.
Thank
We
you.
are blessed to have you in Seminole
We are so
County
blessed.
Public
Thank you, board
Schools.
members.
Thank you.
And I can't let this moment go. I have a team that makes me look really good, and we work very, very well together, and I'm blessed to have each and every one of them, pointing to Sarita also. But my evaluation is their evaluation, and we're honored to work for such an outstanding board.
See, another example of a great leader. You share your
Right.
successes with all. Thank you, Dr. Griffin. Anything else in the superintendent's report?
I would like to ask Ms. Cardona to come up just to speak to us a little bit about Hispanic Heritage Month. Looks surprised.
I love the banner outside, Mrs. Cardona.
Awesome.
Yes, good evening, Dr. Griffin, board members. We have been celebrating Hispanic Month throughout the district since September 15th, and several of the schools have already had different activities going on. They have done parent nights. They have done international multicultural nights at their schools. One of the elementary schools is having a family night next week with food and music. And on behalf of Seminole County, we're having our Saturday festivity at the park at the Lake Mary City Hall. We are going to have music, food, and lots of activities for the children that will be attending.
Could you share the times in case we have additional community members that would like to attend the Lake
From
Mary?
11 to 2 o'clock p.m. we'll be there.
Great. Thank you. Any other comments, board members? No. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you so
Cardona, for
much.
your leadership. We're excited to help in your celebration. Okay, moving to board and committee updates from our board members. Ms. Pennick, do you have any board meetings that you've attended representing?
No, I don't, but I do have one request. As we have kind of gone through and done our community events, such as our waiving for the school buses, the transportation back to school, I had an idea of maybe us using some of our kids' art to showcase the talent that we have in our schools for that, for our websites, for our pamphlets. So I'm wondering if we can just put that out there as a potential art contest program, wrap it under reflections, or somehow be able to capture the use of the talent of our students as our marketing materials.
Great idea.
I love the idea, and we'll agenda that for cabinet and have some feedback for you. Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, Ms. Kraus.
Yes, I have 2 quick things. I attended the Seminole Health, what is SHAC? SHAC, the SHAC. I'm not sure what the acronym is exactly, Seminole Health. We had guest speakers from Nemours and some other hospital agencies, and they specifically spoke about the vaping and the issue with, even though they've banned the flavor jewel things, you can order that stuff anywhere online, and kids are so smart. It takes them 5 minutes on a YouTube to figure out how to open it and put the, so we're too late in this game.
not that it can't be solved, but we're late in the game. And so they're going to work really hard on this epidemic and how we can address early on with our students. And that sort of aligns with hopefully our health class initiative that we're working on implementing. They also have an online training on asthma, and the key to asthma is to identify early and be proactive, preventive with it. And I can get you the website, the specific website, because it is a learning curve for many parents, recognizing the symptoms and triggers. Our next SHAC meeting is November 14th. And you all are welcome to come if you'd like and sit in the audience. And then I have a personal ask. My father-in-law passed away last year, right before the election, to Alzheimer's. And we are hosting, my husband's company is hosting a walk with the National Alzheimer's Foundation, October 5th at Lake Eola Park. We'd love for you to be our guest. It's a 2-mile walk. Registration at 8 a.m. The program starts at 9. You'll be home by 11. And we'd love to have you if you're able to.
Kraus, please repeat the date in here.
October 5th.
October 5th.
Walk to End Alzheimer's.
Great. Thank you.
And there might be cookies involved afterwards. Just saying. Maybe.
There's always treats.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chairman Almond.
Well, my committees were canceled due to the weather, so I'll just say thank you to Ms. Cardona for a great gathering with the foreign exchange students. We thoroughly enjoyed always, listening to them and learning from them.
Member Sanchez.
Well, we've all been everywhere, celebrating so many wonderful activities that have been taking place at our schools. But the one coalition meeting that I went to was the Central Florida School Board Coalition meeting that was held last week on Monday, and we had a guest there that was a surprise guest, and it was our Department of Education Commissioner, Richard Corcoran. And I did bring up some suggestions and some ideas and questions that I had, and that I'm a little concerned because he feels very strongly about FSA and how it's the best test out there. And yet our governor doesn't feel that way. And our benchmarks and frameworks and everything else are being rewritten, and nothing's going to align with the FSA if that's the case. I also spoke to him or asked him in there as well about raises. If we bump up the beginning teacher salary, that I would hope that we bump up all of our salaries across the line, or we're going to lose our veteran teachers. He was listening to that. So I just wanted to share all that information with you and let you know that I wish I would have known he was there so you all could have been in attendance, but they didn't let us know that. And also thank you to everybody during the hurricane, providing all the help at the shelters and everything everybody did for all the students and families.
Thank you so much. The one board that I serve on for this board with the zoo, we had our big gala on Saturday night. It seemed to be a success. We don't have the final numbers in, but as soon as we do get that, I'll be sure to share it. But thank you all for sharing the information and gathering auction items and attending, so we appreciate it. This afternoon, when we had our work session with the foundation, we spent some time sharing accolades of some great things about our school district with the foundation so they could better understand where we are as a district. This morning, I was honored to attend the convocation of Seminole State College. As you know, I'm a trustee there. So when the president was speaking, she shared some of their top accolades, and since we are such great community partners with Seminole State, I thought I'd share some of them with you because I didn't even know them all as a trustee. The first is Seminole State College is actually the 16th in the nation for AA degrees awarded, so that's pretty impressive. We've also sent more than 13,000 transfer students to universities in the last decade, including more than 1,300 last year alone, and 90% of those students choose to go to UCF. We're 5th in the nation for the number of Jack Kent Cook Scholars. We have a total of 19 scholars. We are one of a handful of colleges to achieve the coveted gold status in performance funding. And if you think our school grading system is convoluted, I challenge you to look at the funding formulas for the state college system. But the positive is Seminole State is at the gold top status. And this was very impressive because, think about it, most of these are our students anyway. The job placement rate of our AS graduates averages 95%, with the starting salaries averaging $53,000. That's 13% above the local average. So it really solidifies the theme of Go State, Go Far. Our students recently achieved a 100% pass rate on the nursing licensure exam and a 100% first-time pass rate on the National Board for Respiratory Care exam. That's the first time we've ever administered that. And we're a military-friendly college and a Purple Heart institution, and we are now designated as a Hispanic-serving institution with a Hispanic student population of 29%. And this fall, we launched an Associate's in Science degree in Hospitality Management. So that is a great pathway for our hospitality management students that are in our high schools, that they now have somewhere else to go before they get into the workforce or while they're in the workforce. And so I'm really proud of what Seminole State is doing with our partnerships here with Seminole County Public Schools. And thank you, Dr. Griffin, for releasing your team members to work collaboratively with the college, because at the end of the day, we have the same students and we have the same goals for everyone, to be great citizens and to contribute to society and earn a living wage. So that success I thought I'd share with you. Anything else to come before the board? Dr. Griffin? Seeing none, this meeting stands adjourned.